If you were to bring back one of your loved ones alive, who will it be? Please drop your answer in the comment section. If I'm to bring back one of my loved ones alive, the first person I would think about is my father. My father. I lost my father in the year 2021. That day was one of the worst years ever in my life. 2021, October 9th, 2021. I lost my dad when I was still in university. That was my final year. My final year first semester. I will never forget that very night. It was around 1 a.m. in the morning, early in the morning when I was first asleep. I was already asleep. I was sleeping. And you know that kind of what hour when your phone ring, you will be panicking, you'll be like, who is calling me by this hour of the night? So this is exactly what happened to me. I was already fast asleep. When my phone rang, I jumped up and I checked on my phone. It was my elder sister. My heart sank. Said Jesus. Why is she calling me by this hour of the night? This is the danger time. So I picked up my call. I answered. She was panicking. She said, please, can you pray? Can you pray? Our dad is busy getting himself. He's having an attack. I said, okay, no problem. Then my dad was with my mom and few of my siblings and my aunties in the village. By that time, none of them were sleeping. They were all praying. So I have to queue in and join them. And at that point, I was shaking. I wasn't myself. I couldn't even pray. You know, I was just asking God, please don't allow my father to die. Don't allow my father to die because I have made a promise to my father that after my university, I will surely take care of him. Because my dad is someone that loves education. That no amount of anything you ask him about the education that he will not provide it for you. So I made that promise to him when I finish my school. Even if I'm not making big money, at least from little that I'm making, I'll be showing love to him. That was like a lot of times was clocking in my mind, say, God, what if my father die? Get him, get me, what will now become of me? Because at that point in time, I haven't even paid my school fees. And my daddy is the one that is always paying my school fees for me. At that point in time, my dad is not lying critical. Then we are now praying, God, please don't allow my father to die till daybreak. Immediately it was daybreak. They took my father to the hospital, and immediately I took my bag. Remember, I was in the school. I was in the school in my room, my lodge. I took my bed immediately. I entered back straight to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I saw my father lying. Did I just say lifeless? Not really lifeless because he was still breathing, but he was just in between death and life. Because people they were surrounding him, he couldn't even talk. He couldn't open his eyes. He couldn't even recognize any one of us. So that was how I met my dad lying critical on the hospital bed with oxygen. I cried. I prayed. So after all said and done, they said, okay, let's run some tests on him. After running all the whole tests on him, they couldn't find anything wrong with him. So they discharged us from the hospital. That was how I jumped into the car where my father was lying straight to the village. I was just wearing only that my clothes I wore before coming to the hospital. That was the same clothes I also wore back to home. So we're not asking for the face of God. There are some things that are beyond medical. We're not praying, asking God for mercy, asking God for mercy, asking God to give my head another chance to live. My mom, me, all my siblings, my father's sisters, people that meant went to him, people were coming, praying, men of God. Until one man of God came, he prayed, and at some point he stopped. He couldn't talk again. The man left in anger. He left in anger. He told us that my father has he's no longer in the land of the living. He's now in the land of the dead. That it can now only take the grace of God to revive him, to bring him back. It can only take the grace of God. We're still praying, asking God for mercy and all of that. But after like few days in the village, that was in the morning, around 9 a.m. October 21st, 2021, my dad gave up to the ghost. We cried, we shaked him, we called upon God. But after everything, my dad gave up to the ghost. So this was how they took him to the mortuary. And I marked that day. It's a day that gave me a scare. I will never forget in my life. A forever scare. I will never forget in my life. Honestly, that was how I lost my father. And at some point, I was like, is it true that I'm not fatherless? Is it true that I don't have a father anymore? That kind of thought was now going through my mind and all of that. And I was still thinking, I still have a lot of tasks waiting for me in my school. Who will now help me? At this point, what we are not talking about is how to give my dad, how to give him a fitting burial, how to bury him. Somebody's not talking about school stuff anymore. I said, God, don't leave me astray. Don't leave me astray. It's really, whenever I remember this thing, whenever I remember this story, it always touches me. Like, it always touches me. Losing a loved one is not really easy, and it's not something I'm wishing my enemy either, because it's always touching. It's always touching, and it's a forever scare. It's a forever scare. So, October 9th, 2021 is one of the worst year in my life. It was the year that took away my dad from me. Anyway, may his gentle soul rest in peace. Amen.